Well, if you had it, no one has to tell you that it's painful, it's uncomfortable. But what's worse is the doctors are now saying that sprained ankle could have some lifelong consequences even after it heals. Dr. Samadi, is this true?
Well, it's interesting. The short answer is that it depends on how bad the sprain of the ankle is and also how really the after effect is, whether it's going to heal on its own or whether it's going to be a chronic problem. Who hasn't had this sprained ankle? You know, thousands of people go through playing sports and soccer and football, and women when they wear high heels. I'm sure that has happened to you. But the whole message here is that they look at this study of 20 people that had sprained ankle, 20 people who didn't have it. They looked at the pedometers and find that the ones that have this sprained ankle basically ignore walking. They took 2,000 steps less than the guys that were completely fine. Why are we talking about this? Is recognizing that you have this and not ignoring it. There are a lot of good physical therapists. There are a lot of treatments out there that you can get, whether it's from massage therapy or acupuncture or getting your MRI checked to know whether there is a real problem. I would tell you that if you have sprained ankle, the best way is to remember this mnemonic. Arthel, rice. Rest for the first 24 to 72 hours. I is ice pack, and you want to make sure it was 72 hours. Get the swelling down. And also, what's C? C is compression. You want to wrap it with like a really, not too tight, but like one of these ace bandages. Yep. And E is to elevate your feet. Yep. Rice, remember that. And that should help you. If it goes over 6 weeks, then it becomes a chronic problem, and that's when I'm going to send them to Dr. Siegel.
But Dr. Siegel, I want to start first, because how do you know? You don't want to wait till 6 weeks. How do you know if it's really something, or better yet, most of us tend to kind of walk through it. Well, I'll just walk through it. Is that the wrong thing to do?
Yes, that's the self-treatment mode, and you're so right, Arthel. The first thing to do is to recognize whether you have a problem or not. And how do you know that? Well, usually sprains occur when you're on your toes, and usually it's the 3 ligaments on the outside of the ankle that get sprained. But you know what? They can get torn too. That's a stage 3 sprain. You could have torn ligaments there. Now, if you can't weight bear, if you have trouble walking on that foot, and it's swelling on the outside of your ankle and it's turning color, you see a doctor because you could actually have fractured something. The first thing I want to know is it a sprain or is it a fracture? If I know that it's a sprain and the x-ray is negative and I or an orthopedist, let's say, reassure you, then you go through what David was saying with ice and with elevation and rest, and then you slowly return to function. You may need physical therapy. Don't think because it's a sprain that you don't need physical therapy. You got to recondition that ankle, because what happened in these studies is if you don't recondition the ankle properly, Arthel, you could end up getting more permanent damage and more predisposition to further and further sprains.
And sometimes the sooner you treat this, whether if it's not what we just talked about, the next phase would be like, go through a real treatment, injection the ankle with some steroids, etc. But it's good to get your MRI. If after a month or so you still have a problem, find out what's going on with those ligaments and whether you need to see a real surgeon.
Because what if you don't fix it now? We're talking about the long-term effects quickly, Dr. Siegel. What could happen long time?
Because the ligaments get loose. And if they're torn, they may not heal totally properly. You may end up with scars there. So the earlier that you intervene, the better. The earlier you stay off it, the better. And the earlier you see a physician, if it's swollen and you can't weight bear, the better. And the high heels, David's point is right also.
So you two stop wearing your high heels, okay?
No, you need to know how to actually do a lot of therapy afterwards.
She's accusing us of wearing high heels.
Thank you, Dr. Marc. Tease, Eric.
But let me just say one other thing, that it's also very important that this doesn't lead to less activity, being, obesity and other things. So the sooner you fix it, the better it is.